Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Megan and today I'm going to be sharing with you my December wrap-up. So these are all the books that I read in December 2020 and I'm excited to share them with you today. So the first book I read and finished in December was Inheritance, which is the fourth and final book in the Inheritance cycle by Christopher Paolini. This is the story of Aragon, who discovers a dragon egg and is tasked with becoming the last known dragon rider and defeating Galvatorix and the Empire to save the whole kingdom or whatnot, but it was really good. I personally think, I'm not sure if it was due to reading it as an audiobook or due to the fact that I didn't read it until I was older and I don't have the nostalgic factor. But personally for me, the series as a whole was about a 3 stars. It didn't capture me quite as much as some other fantasies have, but it was still really fascinating. Inheritance as an individual book, I gave 4 stars because it was good. It was kind of like Aragon was 4 stars, Eldest and Brissinger were 3 stars, and then Inheritance was 4 stars again, so that is why I'm giving it about a 3.5 stars as a whole on this series. But again, I don't know if that's because I read it as an audiobook and not a physical format. December was kind of the finalizing sequels and trilogies and series for me because I also read Wings by Elizabeth Richards. This is the third and final book in the Black City trilogy, and it tells the story of a half-blood named Ash, who is half human, half vampire, and Natalie, who is the daughter of basically the head of the humans of this city, and the vampires are being secluded and discriminated against, and Ash is trying to fight for their rights. And it's a dystopian, and of course there's like a enemies to lovers / forbidden love kind of trope, pretty much like any other dystopian. The first 2 books were good enough to keep me intrigued, but this one was fantastic because we actually got some backstory of someone in specific. I don't want to say who because it would be a spoiler, but we did get some more backstory, which was really awesome, and it made me really love this book as a whole, and I actually think I gave this one 4.5 or 5 stars. If you haven't learned by now, I love backstories. Next, I read Blood and Honey, which is the second book of the Serpent and Dove series. I believe there's 3 or 4 books. I'm pretty sure it's a trilogy. And Gods and Monsters is the 3rd book coming out this year. But Blood and Honey definitely suffered from second book syndrome. I loved Serpent and Dove, but this one, there wasn't really romance because our 2 main characters were really never with each other. They kind of split up and did their own separate things. It was interesting, but I don't know. It wasn't nearly as good as Serpent and Dove, and it was kind of a disappointment to me. But it still intrigued me enough to want to read the 3rd book. So I'm kind of wishy-washy on how I feel about this one. Next, I read Queen of Shadows, which is the 4th book in the Throne of Glass series. This is the first time I've read through the Throne of Glass series, so I've really been enjoying it. It's definitely a less mature writing style, and this one started pretty slow, but I ended up loving this one in the end. Air of Fire is probably my favorite of the series so far, but I really love getting more story about Manon and Alid. I like those characters a lot, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I also read the entire Lunar Chronicles series in December, starting with Cinder and Scarlet, Cress. Then I took someone's recommendation and read Fairest before Winter, and then Stars Above. So Cinder is a retelling of Cinderella, Scarlet is Red Riding Hood, Cress is Rapunzel, Fairest is the backstory of our main villain, who is essentially the evil queen, and then Winter is a retelling of Snow White. And then Stars Above is just a compendium of short stories throughout pretty much all the backstories of our main characters. I freaking loved this series. It's sci-fi retellings of all these characters, and our main character right here, Cinder, is a cyborg who discovers something pretty prominent about her life, and she keeps adding on partners throughout the series, and we get to know each of them. I personally love Cress the most because Rapunzel is one of my favorites, and then also Cinder. Red Riding Hood was probably my least favorite of the group so far. I don't know why I said so far, I've read the whole thing. But yeah, Scarlet was probably my least favorite of all the books, but it was a fascinating series. Definitely 5 out of 5 stars. These books made their way into my top books of the year, which will be a video coming soon. I also read the graphic novel Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, in which we are following Frederica, or Freddie for short, who is dating Laura Dean, and Laura Dean keeps cheating or being an abusive partner or those types of things and breaking up with Freddie, and Freddie just keeps taking Laura Dean back because she's stuck in this cycle, and she ends up visiting some sort of like fortune teller or some person of that sort, and that person's basically like, if you want to break the cycle, you have to break up with Laura Dean. And it deals a lot with friendships and relationships and prioritizing the relationships in your life and figuring out what's best for you and your life, and it was really fantastic. Those are all the books I finished in December, so it was a pretty slow reading month without audiobooks. I read the entire Lunar Chronicles in audiobooks, and then The Inheritance. So without audiobooks, I don't know how much I actually would have read, so thankful for the Libby app. But I also just kept starting books in December. I would like start a book and wouldn't finish it, so I do have a pile of books that are any sort of amount of done. Like there's one that's 50 pages done, there's one that's half done, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to show that stack to you now. So here's my stack of books that I just randomly started. Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, I'm actually reading side by side. I found this chart in which you can read so that you're reading them as they take place at the same time, which I'm really enjoying. A lot of people recommended that on a Sarah J Maas group I'm in, so I'm really happy I found that, and I'm not, because I'm sort of reading Tower of Dawn and I'm understanding why people would want to do that. I also started Renegades, which has been fantastic so far. It's essentially are anarchists and the renegades. The renegades are the superheroes of the world, and the anarchists believe that there needs to be like less rules, and Nova is raised by the anarchists and decides that she wants to spy on the renegades, so she enters a competition to become a renegade. And if you know me at all, you know I love like disguise and competitions, and I already know where it's going on the romance kind of side of things, so I'm absolutely in love with it so far. I also am about halfway-ish, maybe not, maybe about a third of the way through The Last Olympian, which is the 5th and final book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. I am about 50 pages into Addie LaRue, and then I also started Red, White, and Royal Blue. So that was my wrap up for December. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please let me know in the comments down below what you read in December and what your favorite books were, or if you have any recommendations for me. As always, I will be linking all of the books I discussed down below for an Amazon wish list, and if you would like to purchase from that, it just gives me commission. It does not affect the price for you at all, but I really appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll check in with you in my next video. Bye, friends!